Okay, so this is one of the bigger ones. Famous photograph of Johnson being sworn in on Air Force One after Kennedy was assassinated. This one ran so many times, and that's why it has so many stamps on it, because every time it ran, it had to have the date stamped on it. These are the stamps just for this photograph. Here's the daily stamp. See, all the imperfections are built into the stamp. The color of the red is consistent in some and varies in others. So I've got a way to mix the inks. 53 millimeters. This is shellac and alcohol and tint, and it ages the tape and takes the shine off of it. I haven't ever mopped my studio floor, fortunately, because yeah, I get all my fingerprints from here too. So I need to take some watercolor and match that, but otherwise I think the bend is pretty good. It's not exact, but it's on the edge of this paper. So I think it's more important that you follow the paper. It's more about that it's a credible object, right? You have to figure out what order everything happened in, what writing is underneath the tape and what writing is over the tape. It's kind of like visual archaeology.
I've pulled a few photographs from our New York Times collection, which is about 300 pictures that were acquired by the museum in 2001. And what we have here are probably some of the most famous, iconic pictures of the 20th century, of the most important events, both nationally and internationally. And the life of these pictures is really on the back of them. What you see is basically the history of the photograph in terms of how it was published in the New York Times. And you have this great collage of all of the captions that were included with the photograph when it was published, all of the stamps that were stamped onto the back of the photograph when it was published, pencil mark, grease marks, and it really, the whole history of the photograph in its life in the New York Times is really captured on the back. So you really see that they were living, working things taken out of the file, put in, reproduced over and over again. One of the things that I love about seeing these photographs is that as an image, you know them so well, but when you see them as an actual object, they really have a life of their own, and they, in a way, come more alive when you actually see the object. And in fact, when you look at the back and you read the caption, it really evokes this picture that everybody knows so well. It's just really seared into the collective unconsciousness. You know, it's obviously the Hindenburg is very famous, but you know, this to me evokes all the numerous plane crashes and all of these kind of train disasters and all that. And it's really the kind of image that has become so familiar to us and that we really expect to see on the newspaper, or sort of on the front page. And you know, this is in a way a template for all the pictures that have come after it. You know, working in a museum, I'm used to looking at the back of a photograph. The back of a photograph often tells you, you know, its history, its life, when it might have been made, if the artist wrote anything on the back. But I think for a lot of people, they think of photographs as just having one dimension. And so I thought when Vic came and became interested in the backs of this, I thought it was perfect. And there is something also really beautiful about the backs of these photographs, because as you've seen, they have great color, they have great texture, they have, you know, all this information in a way that's more information than what the front can give.
For me, when I first asked somebody if I could see the back of this painting, this was the first one. Now, I would never imagine the person would say yes, and I felt very privileged to be able to see, to get to know this object as more intimately as I did.